It's 6:07 at WPSL, the talk of the Treasure Coast. The views expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we encourage you to like and share them on Facebook. And now, Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie proudly presents the African American Scene with your host, Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always good to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Looking forward to the Easter weekend. I am heading to the North Country for the weekend, headed to North Carolina.
You want to fly up there? Or you
yeah.
drive up
Oh,
there?
man, I'm past that drive thing.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, I don't do that kind of driving anymore.
Is there much snow on the ground up there right now?
Oh, no, there's no snow. Not in North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm going to North Carolina. It's gonna be nice. Okay. Open mic night tonight, so you get a chance to fight tonight. So get your dukes up.
Best boxing gloves. Dust them off.
And if this is the first time you've ever listened to me, then let me educate you. I throw some topics out, and then I invite you to call up and to debate those topics with me and share your point of view. So, topic number one. Did you agree with the bombing of Syria? How'd you feel about that?
Interesting.
Topic number two. Why does the U.S. lock up so many people?
Business is business.
Yeah, the U.S. has the largest prison population in the world.
You can invest in a prison, you can build a prison and lease it to a state.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Big money.
This week, Jeff Sessions announced that he was going to review the consent decrees that were initiated under the Obama administration. What do you think about that? Should those dissent decrees be dismissed? And we can talk about what a dissent decree is. Consent decree. Now, here's one that I run to on the Facebook quite a bit, and so I really am looking for your opinion. Can you question the justice system without that being interpreted as hating the police? Can I question the justice system without that being an interpretation that I hate police?
If you use the court system. Theoretically.
Yeah, some people, if you challenge the way justice is administered, that automatically is an interpretation that you don't support the police or you dislike police officers. So I'd like to know why that opinion exists. And
the best way to attack your opponent is to demonize them.
Yeah, and you know what? That is pretty much one of those racial divisions. White people, for the most part, think when you question the police that you hate the police, and black people don't. And I wonder, we look at it through two different lenses, I guess. And last topic for tonight. Do black people hate all conservatives? Do you think that black people hate all conservatives? Do you think that's so? And if you want to weigh in on any of these topics, the phone number is 340-1590.
In all fairness, that question can also be asked the other way around.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to get some folks talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Do conservatives hate all black people? No, the answer to that is, of course not.
And
no,
vice versa, not too. But the conversations in between all that, that's what we need to get over. See, we can get into some conversations, and that's where a little barbecue party usually comes in handy in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
You know? You start talking, even though you might be on either side of the fence, well, guess what? Both have quite a bit of knowledge that can be shared back and forth that you'd never know that you could share or had in common until you stepped forward and did it.
Yeah, and listen, I think I talked about this once before. My father, as I go back and look in hindsight, my father was as conservative could be. Everything with him was black and white. There was only one way to do something, the right way. That was it. There was no gray. There was no gray. As he got older, he got a lot better about that. But growing up, there was no gray. But here's where he separated from a lot of my conservative friends. He did not allow you to criticize anybody that was not doing as good as you. You'd get a smack upside the head for saying anything about them. He would have died and gone to hell before he collected a welfare check. I mean, he was so conservative about that, but would get on you unmercifully if you criticized anybody that had a welfare check. That was, and so he was a staunch conservative, but he did not believe in looking down his nose at other people. Now, I think a lot of that came because my father was pretty poor. And he raised us up into middle class, but my father was poor as dirt. And let me tell you, my father was not alone. There's a lot of very conservative black fathers, but the distinction is, like I said, they have a rigid position about looking down their nose at other people. Just not allowed, not culturally, not acceptable within my community anyway.
Well, if one has any manners whatsoever, they're going to know what being talked down to through nose hairs is like.
Yeah.
And nobody has to like that.
No.
Not required to tolerate that. Nose hairs is very rude and arrogant. Shame on you for doing that.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, my father was just a good man, a hard-working man, but he would not. I mean to tell you, you'd get a smack if you saw somebody and you said something derogatory about them because they were poor. You got a smack upside your head. It just wasn't allowed. So whatever he was doing for his family, and no matter how hard he worked, and sometimes worked 3 jobs, he would not allow you that conversation about other folks. And you know why I share that with you? Because many of you who listen to me each week, you don't know any black people on an intimate basis, and so that's what my mission here is every Wednesday night, to try to give you a little insight into some black culture. And I would imagine some of you that are sitting there listening to the radio right now are saying, "Really? They were that?"
People need to open their minds more to culture, the differences in culture, because you see that's part of the fascination of it all.
It is.
You know?
It is. And here's the thing. As a educated person who spent time in the corporate world, one of the things that I had to do is I had to learn about white culture. Now, I was also fortunate enough that growing up, I was exposed to white culture as a kid in a predominantly white suburban neighborhood. So I was forced to have to understand about the cultural difference between where I came from within Philadelphia, an almost all-black neighborhood, to an all-white neighborhood. But a lot of white folks have never had that experience. And I think in most instances, when they have had that experience, they have a different perception about who black people are, for sure. And I can tell you, for most because we talk about it among ourselves. We can tell usually within 5 minutes if you're talking to a person that's used to dealing with people of color. You can tell within 5 minutes, you know right away if that person's used to dealing with people of color by the way that they respond to you and the interaction that you're having in your conversation.
Like if they don't sweat profusely when you're standing behind them in line.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Shaking hysterically in fear of what might be.
Exactly.
Maybe, what if?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's. I think everybody can spot folks like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so okay, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. And I kind of threw out that question about conservatives because Steve has accused me in the past, not Steve Case, the other Steve Forbes, has accused me of the past of demonizing black conservatives, and I do not demonize. There are some I detest, for sure, but then there's some conservatives that I think are pretty cool. And while I may not agree philosophically with them, there are areas where we can have common ground. So, getting back to that first question, did you think the bombing of did you agree with the bombing of Syria? And we have Steve. How are you, Steve? How are you this evening?
Oh, my God, it's so good to get back to you. I got to tell you, I really appreciate the fact that after radio show went off the air, you took the time to come back and talk to me. We really had what I felt was a very sincere, honest, and very substantive conversation. Sadly, no one got to hear it.
Yes, we did have a good conversation. Yeah, we talked for about 20, 25 minutes, too.
I do believe, in fact, I'm the one who made you late for your next appointment.
Yes, that's okay.
Won't be the first time.
And it won't be the last, I'm certain.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call in and say to you, thank you so much. You and I, we agree on things and we disagree on things, but we are able to do them at the level of maturity, responsibility, and I sort of feel like you were, you know where I come from.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that because of the way you were with me that other week, we really accomplished something. I think we did. I mean, it may not spread out to the rest of the world, but I just wanted to call in and say, really, thank you so much.
Well, listen, Steve, let me tell you something. There's nothing I enjoy more than having a conversation with somebody from a different perspective that is intelligent and articulate. That is my thing. I love that. So when we can talk and we're listening to each other, and what happened with you and I was we were listening to each other.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, and with sometimes when you have people that call in and they want to talk to you, when I challenge a particular position, they go off on a tangent and they get all defensive and get all wound up instead of
I understand that. I do appreciate that. And you and I, we really started getting into the details of statistics as well, which I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for continuing to listen. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Keep it going.
Thank you, sir.
Wow. God bless you.
Thank you. That was a really nice call. I appreciate that.
Well, especially even the agree to disagree part. That's quite okay because look at the battery in your car.
Yeah.
If both sides agreed with each other, if both sides were positive or both sides were negative, nothing would happen.
Yeah.
But because of that difference, that little spark comes across, and we need that in our cars. And it's,
Yeah,
figuratively speaking, just letting folks know that it's really quite simple.
He's a really interesting guy, and he went to the University of Houston, and we talked for about 20, 25 minutes in my car, and it was a really good conversation because we both listened to each other. I listened to what he had to say, and then he listened to what I had to say, and I love that kind of exchange because you know what? You can get somewhere when you're listening to each other.
Yeah.
You know, when you can hear. Like some people, there's red flags. Like when I say Black Lives Matter. Red flag, red flag. Yeah, right. You know, right?
Warning.
Yeah, exactly. Black Lives Matter. You can't talk to them. Can't talk about Black Lives Matter. They're anti-police. They want to kill the police. Instead of saying, okay, what does that mean? Let's talk about what that means. And I think I've talked about this once before. If we are Christians, many of us, some of us are not anymore, and we care about our fellow Americans, and some of you, this is going to be a repeat, but for some of you, this is probably going to be the first time you've heard this. If I tell you I hurt, don't tell me I don't hurt. Be my brother and find out why I'm hurting. That's not a big deal. If I tell you that I'm experiencing a situation that is racist, and you tell me no, I'm not, and you don't even listen to why I feel that way, you're not giving me the credit I deserve. Now, if you listen to me and I tell you what it is, and at the end of the day you say, well, I'm skeptical of that, okay, but at least you listened, as opposed to saying no. Like, on Fox, they say, nope, that's not racial, nope, that's not racial, nope, that's not racial. That's not helpful, because now you create resentment.
That's denial.
Yeah, that is. That's really what it is. It's denial. So if we really care about each other as fellow Americans, listen to me. Let me tell you where my pain is, whether it be my elbow or my leg or my back. And when I tell you that, help me diagnose the pain. Don't ignore my pain, So here's one of the things. We have the largest prison population in the world. Can you believe that? We have the largest prison population in the world. We're 5% of the globe, and we have 25% of the prisoners in the world.
Are all those prisoners violent and dangerous?
No. In fact, there's an article here that says of the people imprisoned in the United States, 72% are imprisoned for nonviolent offenses.
72%.
72%. Only 13% are serving time for violent crimes. But we lock up, the ratio is 724 per 1,000. That's our typical prison rate.
Now, there's some other statistics that you might not want to go near tonight that are also quite unfair.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to go there.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, for example, Russia, now listen to this, but we lock up more people than Russia and China.
Oh, but we're so free. Rudy, we're free. We're a free country. How can that be? That's not true.
Yeah. and Russia is 581 per 1,000.
Well, what about China? There's a bigger population there, a huge population.
Yeah, I don't have that stat handy.
There's too
but
many people there for those stats.
England locks up 145 per 1,000. Most of the countries in the world have a rate of 150 per thousand. The average is about 150 per thousand. We're at 724 per thousand. Wow. And we have Brian on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing?
Okay.
Real quick comment I need to run here, but approximately 22% of the people in jail in the United States are illegal aliens. If we had fewer illegal aliens, that would decrease our prison population by a good deal, wouldn't it?
No, it is not that high.
Really?
No, it's not even close to being that high.
Well, what's the number?
I don't have the number, but I think the last time I checked, it was somewhere around 7 to 10% were illegal aliens.
Check Google right now. I think you're wrong. Washington Post has an article about it.
Okay.
Washington Post of all places.
Well, I'm
so let's say it's 5%. Let's
Okay.
say it's 5%. Let's say I'm wildly wrong.
Okay.
Shouldn't we have fewer illegal aliens and help work in the prison population?
Well, this illegal aliens thing, that's a hot button issue for many conservatives.
I think for many people, period. It cuts across party lines pretty dramatically.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not as concerned about it as you. And have you ever seen the program Vice?
Sometimes, yeah, I've seen it.
It's on HBO. It was on last night. And,
Right.
and what they were talking about on Vice was that farmers had to destroy crops last year, valuable strawberry crops, because they couldn't find enough people to pick the fruit.
Well, that's a terrible problem for strawberry farmers.
Yeah,
If we're talking about prison populations and we really care about getting the population down, I don't know.
Well,
It doesn't sound
let's
like-
let's go back and say you're right with 22%, because
Okay.
I don't have the statistic in front of me. That
Okay.
would still leave us the number one prison population in the world.
Yeah, but we'll go from. I'm sorry, I'm somewhat loud. Forgive me. Yeah, no, we would still have a very high prison population, but it would be considerably lower. I mean, drop by 5 million people. That's a huge number. Or I mean, five. If it was 25% of the prisoners worldwide are in the U.S. and we have 5% of the population, that 25% would drop to 20%, and that's a heck of a step in the right direction, isn't it?
Well, of course, one of the things that I think has shined a light on the prison population is economics, because until people began to understand how costly housing prisoners are, they were not very concerned about it. But here's where I come from at this particular point, Brian. I think illegal aliens have become a scapegoat for many of the ails that we're concerned about. And in reality, let me share some interesting information with you. Each year, illegals pump about somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 billion into the Social Security system.
And cost about 70 or 80 billion.
No.
Yes,
Let me finish, and you can look it up.
Okay.
Okay. Every
Yes.
year, illegals pump about $13 billion into the Social Security system.
Right.
They anticipate collecting about $1 to $2 billion.
Right.
It is a quantifiable fact.
No, it's a net positive of $10 billion. I get that, but
Okay,
it's also
so
what does it cost to educate the kids? What does it cost to put them in prison? What does it cost for emergency health care? Far exceeds any financial benefit. So that's a silly argument.
no, I think not, because if they are paying wages that are contributing to the Social Security system, that
Yeah, but they're
means they.
costing
But wait a
they're
minute.
costing
But
elsewhere.
wait a
Wait.
minute though. Wait, here's the part you got to hear. it's a one-sided argument. If you're saying that they're costing us because we have to educate their kids and because we have to give them health care, they're paying taxes into our society. So therefore, they're making a contribution towards some of the benefits.
Yeah, but if I give you $10 and you give me $70, did you make $10? Did you lose 60?
Well, where does that come from? Where are you getting that math?
The numbers to pay for education, health care, welfare, prison populations far exceed the amount of money they put into the Social Security system.
Well, let me ask you this: do the amount of money?
And then,
wait, just hear me out now. Does the money that our poor and middle class black and white people put in the system is what they get out far in excess of what they contribute?
no, but those are our people. There's a difference.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, black, white, Hispanic citizens are our people.
Mm-hmm.
Foreign nationals are not our people.
Okay, so how do you know? Because nobody seems to be able to come up with any definitive number about the amount of illegal people here in the country. They guesstimate 11 million, 13 million, somewhere around there.
Okay.
See, and now let me say this to you. See,
But
and let me.
how is that a salient point? I don't understand.
Okay, well, let me say this to you. Have you identified illegals based on what?
Immigration status?
Huh?
Immigration status?
Okay. Are you an illegal alien?
No.
Why not? When did your family get here?
Does it matter?
Yes, I'm making a point.
We're going to say what? That legal, illegal is just a big, silly, blurry line that doesn't matter?
Well,
That's ridiculous.
No, I'm asking you a question now. Are you a alien?
No.
When did your family get here?
1,000 years ago. I'm not sure.
Where'd they come from?
Mars. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
In what way?
Well, answer the question, and I'll make the connections for you.
Well, you keep going from one thing to another.
Well,
and I make a point, and you can't really come back to it, so you just say something else completely different.
No, I can answer.
We were talking about the financial impact of illegals in the country, where we get $10 billion in taxes, but we pay out $70 billion in expenses, and then we jump to something else.
No, and I'm telling you that's a specious argument only because we, the people of this country, do the same thing, and you say that doesn't matter because that's our people.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let me go back to the same point that I was making before, so you can start to connect the dots.
No, but you're saying that immigration laws don't matter, and that everybody's just people, and it doesn't matter where they come from.
Did you ever hear me say that? The immigration laws didn't matter?
Tell me you weren't going there.
No. What I'm going to show to you, I'm going to make a point to you.
Okay, let's.
Okay, we've already made the point, and you agree that the same ratio of contribution by our people does not cover all the costs that they generate, but for the illegals, it is problematic. Now, let me go back to my point.
Is it not?
Well, let me go back to my point. When did your family get here?
Let's say it's 150 years ago.
Where'd they come from?
A bunch of European countries.
They did.
My last name's Polish.
Okay, so you came from Poland. Your family came here from Poland.
No, I came from New York. There's a difference, but go on.
Okay, so your family came here from Poland.
Okay.
So when they came here from Poland, were they sucking off the system until they were able to get 2 feet on the ground?
There wasn't a system at that point.
Well, okay. So maybe there wasn't a system. Did your family? Because see, let me just put it to you like this: if you weren't here in 1619 when my family came here, my ancestors came here or you weren't on the Mayflower, you're an alien.
Okay.
You came here to this country. There's only one true American, and that's the American Indian.
Who came here from Russia across the land bridge? But okay.
Well, okay.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. But
I think it's pretty well shown, but go ahead.
Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make is your family leaned on the system.
No, there was no system at the time. Go on.
Okay.
There was no handouts, no welfare, no Social Security, none of that.
Okay.
When neither one of our ancestors came here.
Well, yes, that's true. My ancestors just gave free labor. That's all.
They did.
Huh?
They did.
They didn't?
No, they did. They did.
Oh,
Badly.
yeah. Okay, yes.
Horribly. They did.
Yeah, they did. So I guess the point that I'm trying to get you to understand is we have in this country one of the things that makes us great. We're not a homogeneous society like Japan.
Diversity is a strength.
Okay.
It really is. To have support from different groups of people.
So most of the people that came here, they were illegal aliens, and they had to establish themselves within the confines of America. And within those confines, they learned and absorbed the American way and made contributions to our society.
I got to stop you. I think you're saying something not true. You're saying that everyone else who came here was illegal as well, but that's not true. The laws were different then.
So because the laws were more lenient back then, that allowed people to come here from another country, that doesn't count?
Cheap labor at that point, so they brought in the Italians and the Irish and everybody else.
Oh, but it doesn't count because the laws were different back then. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, I'm saying that the country needed cheap labor. They needed it badly, so they made the laws. They set the laws that you come to Ellis Island and you're in. It's different now.
Oh,
those aren't the laws now.
Did you not hear what I said to you earlier about the program I looked at last night?
I don't know.
Listen, the strawberry farmer said, and I'm going to quote him. I'm going to make sure.
Oh, yeah, no, I got you. So the strawberry farmers, if they need more labor, they need to petition Congress and change the laws. And if we want to get more people to work in the strawberry farms, great. But there's laws in place for that.
But listen,
you can't just say, the hell with it. We're going to do what we want because we're going to make more money. That's terrible.
Well, first off, part of the problem with this illegal labor issue is let me just tell you what part of it is a smokescreen, and I'm going to tell you why. The illegal labor issue is like busting the guy that's selling a nickel bag of pot on the corner. His contribution is so minimal, but if there was no market for his $5 bag of pot, it wouldn't be sold. The guy that's making the money and is creating the pot crisis is the guy that's financing the situation. So if there was no ability to make a living when you came here, why would you come?
Yeah, no, I agree that we should certainly, lock that down. And part of that goes back to where you're saying there's $12 billion in fraudulent contributions to the tax system. Those people should all be arrested and deported. Because the reason that there is those fake tax revenues are from people using someone else's Social Security number, stealing their identity and using their Social Security number, making up a Social Security number. So that's bad, and it should stop, and they should be arrested and deported.
Well,
right?
No, not in every single case, because in some cases there were children that came here that were parents may have been illegal to come here to try to create a better life for themselves. And listen, here's where you and I depart on this issue. I had some neighbors from Sweden who finally gave up and moved back to Sweden because they couldn't get their U.S. citizenship.
They should have just come through Mexico. It's easy.
Okay, I had a customer of mine from England who stood in my office with tears in his eyes because he had to go back to England because he couldn't get his citizenship. So I'm pretty sensitive to the fact that there are some issues relative to getting an American citizenship. But if you're here and you're making a contribution financially, and you're trying to help better
Negative
yourself, and well,
You're getting more than you give.
let me. No, not necessarily. Not in all cases. Stop saying that because that's not true. Every illegal that comes here does not necessarily get more than they give.
Maybe there's some that aren't. There's a whole bunch that then send all their money back to their home country and take the money out of our economy. That's the whole other point.
I have issues with that. Yes, that is true. I do now.
Take it out of the neighborhoods where they live. The money's gone. The jobs don't go there. The jobs are in Mexico.
Well, in some cases,
that's great for us, isn't it?
Well, in some cases, they're supporting family members in Mexico who are poor.
They come from crappy countries that really need help. If I lived in some of these places, I'd want to come here.
Yeah.
I don't blame the people for wanting to come here. I blame us for being stupid about how we run the system.
Yeah. Okay, well.
I don't blame the people at all. Not one bit.
All right. Well, listen, I got to take a break. I enjoyed talking to you.
Right on. Do some research on the number of people here in prison illegally.
I will.
Might open your eyes on that.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break. Don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with the African American scene.
Very interesting, Rudy. We learned yet another excuse to diss the indigenous Americans who were here long before the European takeover by claiming that the Russians, because they came here, they migrated across that little Alaskan island keys-looking thing full of snow and polar bears.
Yeah.
And, they're Russians then. Wow. Why do we love to hate?
Well, that's part of that alternate information or stuff, this conspiracy theories that get pushed all the time because, there's a tendency to try to push ourselves up and to push others down. But you know what? Here's one of the things that why I talk about this prison population. Even if he's right, the 22%, I look real quickly, I know I had that statistic at some point, but I don't have it with me now. We would still be the number one prison country in the world.
But on the other hand, when you have millions and millions of illegals who are working and who are paying into the taxes and are not necessarily going to file a tax return because they're afraid to get caught.
Right.
So you got millions of people who won't file a tax return, and the government gets to keep that money.
Exactly.
Which is a substantial amount.
It is
about millions of people.
It is big money. Yeah. You know who first opened my eyes to that? Probably about 5 years ago. Carol opened my eyes to that, and she was saying, but the other side of the argument is that they pay all this money in and they're never going to get any money out.
Yeah.
And if they actually, and here's the important part, if they were actually to pull all of those people out of the system, our Social Security system, our Social Security system would be in trouble.
Wow.
We would lose a lot of money. So there's a lot of people now who are getting their Social Security benefits, and they're being supported by illegals who cannot collect on the benefit. Now, they always talk about how illegals drain the economy.
Well, looky who came to the rescue this time.
Yeah, I know. And listen, and I'm not kidding. I watched a show last night about Vice, and the guy the main owner of the strawberry farm gave a section of his farm to one of his workers so that he could continue to have workers on his farm. So it made him increase his wages and gave this illegal a section of his farm. That illegal is employing I guess it was about 15, 20 people to help pick the strawberries. Now,
Gosh, that's a lot of money.
yeah,
I still can't get over that.
yeah, and then here's the that point is now they're making a contribution, and he was saying on the show, if he gets called to come to a meeting to town, he won't go. If he gets called for any kind of special award or anything like that,
Boy, that's the oldest trick in the book.
he won't go. And so they asked him, was he frustrated by that? He said, listen, I just travel the road of caution. I'd rather not go because I know the possibilities they might grab me and I'll be gone. And, here he is trying to make a good living for himself. Now, see, so my point of it is, okay, we need some immigration reform. I'm with that. But if you got a guy like that who's working, is employing other people, how in the hell is that harming you? What is that doing to you? What inconvenience is that causing you?
Rudy, the whole world has turned into a rumor mill where people just love to hear gossip.
Yeah.
About others and each other, just to keep it all out of whack just a little bit.
Yeah. So, to me, it's like, and listen, this is part of the issue that I had when Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona was about to implement that crazy bill where you could be stopped on the street if you looked like you were an illegal alien. And
oh no.
And well, listen, and some of you have heard me say this before, but for those of you who haven't, let me get you straight on this information. There was Mexicans in Arizona before there were white people. There was Mexicans in California before there were white people.
In fact, that was all Mexico before there were white people there. Yeah.
There were Mexicans in New Mexico before there were white people. There was Mexicans in Texas before there were white people. Now, so if you want to look down your nose at somebody because they got brown skin, there's a good chance if you're in that area, they may have been here longer than you. They may have deeper roots in this United States than you do.
They might even be related to you by blood.
It could be, yes.
How do you like them apples?
And who among us, our age, and we didn't make the connection, that didn't watch Zorro, and who were the people Zorro in California was dealing with? Mexicans. That's from the time we were little kids. One of my all-time, I love Zorro. Okay?
The Lone Ranger, Tonto,
Yeah.
Zorro, what a diversity.
Yeah, so, I mean, come on. Give me a break. That makes me really uncomfortable. But okay, so let's try to get back on track here. Can you be a person who questions the justice system without being anti-police?
That depends on who you ask.
Yeah, because that seems to be an issue that bothers me, because if you get into a debate with someone and you question the justice system, there's a tendency to think that you don't like police. Now, for the purposes of full disclosure, I got friends on the Port St. Lucie Police Department. I got friends on the Port St. Lucie Police Department right now. And they're some of the finest people I know. That's not going to stop me from questioning a situation that I think is unjust, even though I have friends on the police department, and those guys that know me know that I would question those issues, but they know that I don't have anything personally against police. And in fact, I'll share one other issue with you. I was part of the panel selected by the city manager to interview the police chief after our former police chief left and went to Major League Baseball. So I have a fondness for police, but I will question. And we got Winnie on line one. Winnie, how are you?
You doing, my friend? God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I heard on the TV news, they say Donald Trump, she said, yeah, what had nothing to do with that series in that country, the people had got burned or that chemical.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, what had nothing to do with that? That's true? You don't want to start no walk no people.
Well, I listen. I was having a discussion with somebody about that today, Winnie, and we're treading on some very dangerous minefield, in my opinion, because the fact of the matter is, and there's going to be some people that's going to disagree with me. As bad as that man is, and he's a bad man, there is no direct bearing on us here in the United States. None. And you know, we continue to go all the way around the world, and then we turn around and say, and this is my pet peeve, I can't come up with any money for health insurance. I can't come up with any money for Meals on Wheels. And we have to cut student lunch programs. But we can go, I know, but we can go halfway around the world and bomb another country for millions and millions. I think they said something like those missiles were like $500,000 a piece.
Who did that though? Your state or who?
Well, we bombed Syria's airport because we think that it's inconclusive, but the evidence seems to indicate Syria dropped sarin gas on their people.
Oh. Well, why they did? Why your state did that though? You know?
Well, because
genocide.
Yeah, well, it's a humanitarian. In theory, we were providing a humanitarian relief for those people because they were chemically gassed.
Oh, that's terrible. I heard they were talking about cutting out on Meals on Wheels. That's true, huh?
I know.
Well, I think the public would step in at that point and help out Meals on Wheels. That's a long time good thing, you know.
Yeah.
I think the communities would come to the rescue.
Oh, that'd be lying, but that's terrible. Okay, we'll be talking.
Okay.
We'll keep in touch.
Okay, Winnie. Thank you for being a faithful listener. Okay. So, let me. I'm down to last few minutes. So let me deal with my last topic because it's one that comes up quite often about black conservatives. And I have no problem with black conservatives, contrary to what my friend Steve has to say. Now, I will tell you there are some black conservatives that I respect. I respect Michael Steele, former head of the RNC, and I can tell you why I respect him. When that garbage was going around about President Obama not being from America, he never bought into that for not 1 second. He kept his head down and he kept trying to do conservative business, but he refused to buy into that. Tim Scott from South Carolina had a great deal of respect because he stood on that Senate floor and told them what it was like to be black. Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas can go jump in a lake. I think nothing of either one of them. And I feel about them like you feel about Jesse and Reverend Al. I feel just as, but I have a reason why I feel that way. as opposed to in some instances you have a perception but not a reason. But I have reasons why I feel that way about Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas. But the black conservatives are okay with me. And in fact, I think we need more black people in the Republican Party. I know that'll shock you, because I hope that it would give you some balance in some of the overall ideology that you believe in. But we've come to the end of the hour. It's been interesting. And I would like to thank you for listening. God bless and be safe. And I will see you next Wednesday right here on the African American Scene. And I'm going to be all rested and full of North Carolina barbecue. Be safe this weekend.
The African American Scene, brought to you by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie, and hosted by Rudy Howard. There are archives of this show available for you to enjoy all you want. Go to youtube.com and look for WPSL TV, or hit WPSLTV.com. That'll take you there. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.